the World Series is just, it's 1.5 months in the summer. It's like no other time in the world. It's the mecca of poker.
What's up, 888 Ride? We are here in Las Vegas during the World Series of Poker, and that means it is time for 888 Ride. Today, we have one-time bracelet winner. Sorry.
It's one time.
Yeah, one-time bracelet winner, which is more than I have. Will Jaffe. That's right. Will Jaffe does a little bit of everything. It's the tough conversations. He does some commentary. He's a personality. He's a poker player. And, well, fortunately for us, we've got him in the car. What's up, my man?
Great intro, man. Thank you.
Was that good? I was working on it.
It was pretty
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. So let's talk about you. A lot of people know you as kind of a poker personality now more than a poker player. I mean, at least people that are watching this. How did that happen? I mean, you were just a grinder.
I'm just kind of angry, and I started kind of ranting about stuff that was pissing me off. And one particular thing was years ago, a lot of poker players would come up to me and they'd tell me I needed to go to Burning Man in the desert, do crazy hallucinogens and stuff. And I was like, like I never really did acid or anything. And then like, I'd see them like a couple months later and they just like would be like grumpy or something. I feel like, dude, are you really like, you can't even say hi to me now, but you're telling me I need to? And I found that if I told this story like to other poker players, they really resonated with it because they had the same experience.
By the way, I got invited to Burning Man.
Yeah.
And then got like shamed when I wouldn't go. And I was like, dude, I'm married and I have a 1-year-old.
Yeah.
Do you want me to
like
divorced?
lose my mind?
Right.
But anyway, I found that there was like kind of stuff like that I think people have to deal with and they find annoying, but there's no real outlet for it, and I just started kind of putting the camera on myself and bitching about stuff that annoyed me. And it just kind of took off on Twitter. People really, I think, appreciated a lot of it and maybe just felt like it was kind of cathartic or something. I don't really know. It was not something I expected to happen, but it kind of just happened.
Right. I mean, yeah, I was going to say, did you ever expect when you started that, like, it would take off and kind of launch?
No, because also, like, I never, like, I'm older, I'm almost 40, and, like, the whole content creator thing is, like, kind of, like, alien to me. I feel like it's sort of the younger generation that got in on that. So I was never planning on that, but really what it was people really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun doing it, and kind of in the poker world, there was always someone who was doing something, fucking annoying that I could come after. And, it just kind of took off, and then eventually kind of led me into commentary. And it was funny because I had this kind of run where I started to get commentary jobs. Then I was doing the World Series and I was doing the stream, and then I started to get like a lot of hate on Twitter. I never got hate when I was just doing the tough conversations. Right. And I started seeing people, saying I sold out, he's corporate, he's making, and I made some money off of it, but I was still grinding the whole time. I mean, I'm like a super poker grinder, and we did commentary yesterday. We had a great final table. That was the first time I've done commentary or anything on social media for a year.
Yeah. No, I mean, I will tell you that I miss the tough conversations. I kind of equate them in a weird way to Brad Owen. Obviously, you're very different than Brad Owen, but I think part of Brad Owen's success is that he's so relatable to a lot of people just look and go, yeah, he's just a normal dude playing like low stakes cash games, and I can relate to that. And I think in the same way, obviously very different, but people can kind of relate to you just bitching about like, are you kidding me? Like, what is this? And then you just put the camera on yourself and you kind of put it out there. They were just so enjoyable and funny and great. And I will tell you, by the way, from a commentary standpoint, you have improved like immensely. I know you haven't done a lot of it, but the first time you did it with me, I didn't think you were very good. Just gotta come on, say tough conversation. First time, you were a tough conversation guy.
Yeah.
You hadn't done commentary, right?
Yeah,
and
it's
dude, you knocked out of the park.
I appreciate it.
Like you're really good now.
I
like legitimately really good.
I love doing it. I love to talk, and it's a way to talk. It's also great. I mean, you have the chat with you. I feel like that's a really underrated aspect of it. There's a lot of people in the chat that are really fucking funny.
Yeah.
And like
deranged
and unstable mentally. But no, I love doing it, and it's cool because I've been in poker so long, and it's just a kind of way to like sort of just be a part of poker without actually having to play poker, which, as you know, doesn't always go well.
let's go back to 2012. World Series of Poker. You win a bracelet. You win $500,000. You're on top of the world. What do you remember of that?
I mean, the whole thing was just surreal. I was in Costa Rica a few months before, and this was right after Black Friday happened, so I weren't allowed to play online anymore. And I remember a distinct phone call I had. I was very seriously considering quitting poker. Just I had to go to fucking Costa Rica to play online, and I go to the World Series. I'm going to play 30 events or something. Doesn't go well. I'm probably going to find something else.
Fucking
maybe drug dealing. I don't. Whatever.
You'd be a great drug dealer.
Yeah, for sure. I was casually before, that just kind of sell enough to smoke for free.
Good news is nobody watches.
Yes, we can clip that, or edit it out. I mean, not clip that. So I was thinking about quitting poker. I go to World Series. I brick like everything. It's the end of the series, and I'm really considering going home. My, girlfriend at the time, it's like, you can come home, or she was planning on coming out to visit for a few days, but I was like, you know what, like, I'm just going to come home. She's like, no, you know what, you have the trip. I end up, literally, I have no more money because I lose it all in the cash game. I'm leaving.
So that summer, you're not only playing 30 events, but you're also grinding.
I'm a super grinder. I'm grinding, but I have no more money left. I asked my friend to borrow money. He's like, dude, it's 4 a.m. What do you need money for? I'm like, I'm going to reg the $1,000 tournament tomorrow. He goes, come on, dude. Like, and I'm like, no, can I just, he's like, all right, here's 1,000. I go, do you want to buy some action? And he's like, fuck no, dude. Like, here, look at you,
Look at you.
Long story short.
You're begging me for $1,000 in the morning.
I register a few hours later after sleeping, and I win the tournament for $500,000. It was just an unreal.
So you gave your friend back 1,000?
I didn't give him anything.
I'm saying you gave
1,000 back. Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, people.
But it's great. Feel like I should have. The great thing is that you gave him 1,000.
Yeah.
Like, here you go.
Yeah.
That's just sick.
Yeah. So that really, without that, honestly, I probably wouldn't be in poker. Like, it completely sort of extended my poker career, and now this is 12 years later. I'm still grinding.
See, do you look back and go, God, I wish I just lost.
To be honest with you, yes, there are times where I do just wish I had
mostly whenever I have to
see what the other simulation looks like. But no, I can't be mad about that. It was an unreal experience. I mean, winning a bracelet, winning an event with thousands of people, like, it was on the 4th of July. My girlfriend had flown in. This guy was from Brazil. They had like Brazilian flags.
By the way,
the rail is unreal.
I've already said, if I ever make a final table, which is, we know it's unlikely, and if I ever in a world, come on, maybe.
Employees event, maybe. It's small.
Seniors event?
Yeah.
Right, in a few years? Maybe.
You see, you're not eligible now?
If I can, thanks. If I can get in.
Super seniors, I think.
Super seniors. But if I can get in right before, the superstars behind me get in.
Yeah.
I feel like.
You would have to find a way to cheat, I think, but it's possible.
Anyway, if I ever make a final table, I want to hire the Brazilian rail. Right. Yeah. Vivian Saliba is going to help me out with that.
No, it was sick because these guys had flags. They were doing these crazy chants. It was also the 4th of July in America. And I'm not like a super American pride. I was just like, fuck this. I can't let this Brazilian away.
USA!
I mean, the whole thing was unreal. Like,
Did I commentate on it?
Well, that was another part of it. This was 2012. This was right when live streaming was starting to happen.
Right. Well, so the year before that, I did it for ESPN, but the following year, ESPN did not want to do the live streams, and I had the black booth at the Rio.
Yeah.
And I did like 36 events over like 42 days.
Yep.
But there were some events we didn't. We were two events a day on.
Yeah.
So we had to pick and choose. I was wondering. I don't remember if I did your event or not.
You probably did, because you're probably doing all the events.
I did most of them.
Honestly, one of the sickest parts was live streaming wasn't like a thing. It wasn't like big YouTube streams. There was no Triton or anything.
We had no hole cards in 2000.
So that was streamed, and I had so many people come up to me afterwards and be like, dude, that was so sick. I watched the whole stream. And I was like, I didn't even know you could do that. So it was not just me, but it was kind of like a lot of people got in on the experience with me. And I mean, I don't play tournaments anymore, but that's like why you play tournaments.
You don't play any tournaments anymore?
I'll play like a PLO tournament here and there. I try to play the main event if I can, but just don't have a lot of money. And
tournaments are high variance, and it's tough.
It's tough, and I also just don't play a lot of no limit.
Are you mostly PLO these days?
Pretty much all PLO.
Well, when was the transition to PLO, and why? What was the reason for it?
One of the things I feel like has been my biggest skill in poker is not that I'm good or smart or no math. I know none of those things, but I've always adapted to the landscape, and the ecosystem's always changing. And I got into PLO about, I'd say like 15 years ago, 12 years ago.
Oh, wow. So you got way ahead of the
Yes. And so I was always ahead of the curve with PLO. Now it's actually finally catching up, but it was just something where I was tired of No Limit. That was part of the reason I wanted to quit poker, was I just didn't really love No Limit. I felt like it was getting harder, and I just switched over to PLO and loved it. And I've kind of been a full-time PLO player ever since.
I've told people many times, I said, listen, this is something I learned when I first got into poker. I said, the best game is, if you want to be really successful in poker, be good at all the games, because there's going to be one or two fishes that come in, into your casino, and whatever game they want to play, you have to be ready to play it.
That was kind of the thing with PLO, is once you started giving people 4 cards, they didn't want to play Hold'em anymore.
Right.
And especially for cash games, it just became a very popular form, and it's a lot harder to sort of, solve for PLO because you have so many more hand combinations. So that's been really kind of honestly, I haven't played No Limit Cash. I'll play a session here and there if there's no good PLO running. But I barely play No Limit anymore, so that's part of the reason I don't play tournaments. There's all this software out now, GTO Wizard. I don't want to, have to deal with these.
You didn't get into poker so you'd like to study.
No.
That's not why we got into poker.
We got into poker so we didn't have to work. Little do you know, you do have to work, but
if you want to make some money doing it. So what are you doing now? I mean, you're grinding PLO. What else is going on? I mean, you're doing a little commentary with me. I haven't seen many of the tough conversations. I missed those, by the way.
No, I kind of, unfortunately, honestly, I think it was kind of like, once I started to get more popular and people started to see me as sort of like a personality, I think it kind of like killed the tough conversations for me, because it always felt like I was kind of a nobody who was punching up. I was always punching up, like Bill Perkins, like this guy's a, billionaire, like Matt Berkey, whoever I'm going, Doug Polk,
right.
Doug Polk like 6 times, But now, like, people see me as like a influencer or something, and it doesn't have the same sort of feel. It feels like kind of dirtier. So,
like, yeah, right. You're gonna pick on some random reg from like,
yeah, like what am I doing? So I love commentary, but that's a different world. That world is a sort of working world, where there's bosses, and I do not know how to navigate that landscape.
Like it's a job.
It's a job, yeah. And so I love doing commentary.
I mean, it doesn't feel like a job many days because it's fun.
No,
but
well, it also kind of like, just like in poker, there's a lot of luck. There's a lot of luck in commentary. You could get a final table where it's slow. There's no personality. There's not a lot of big hands. You could get a final table like we got yesterday, where it's just super.
I'll give you a shout out though. I was just saying this to somebody. I said there are co-commentators that I work with where, depending on what the table is like, I'm a little concerned, because there are some times where, you get somebody who's okay. If it is ultra serious, and if it's an ultra serious final table where we're really going to do like heavy analysis, this is the guy.
Yeah.
And then if I get one like, I get the seniors event, or, some $600 deep stack, whatever, Colossus, I get the fun guy in there, right?
Yeah.
But then sometimes you just don't know.
Yeah,
sometimes you've got to pivot.
Yeah.
And I will say, like, to your credit, that's a strength of yours now, because I feel very comfortable working with you in the sense that, okay, if it's a really, really, heavy analysis one, okay, we got it covered. And if we have to pivot and make it more fun and just have a lot of fun and like joke around, okay, you got that too.
Well, that's one of the nice things about playing poker for 20 years. I mean, I don't think people realize how much poker I still play. I drive.
How much do you play?
All the time. Like literally, yesterday was the first time I've done commentary in like 14 months.
So do you play like 5 days a week?
5 days a week. I play. I looked on my phone. I've already played. It's Saturday. I've played 40 hours on my phone on an app already this week.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm a super grinder. That's what I do. That's how I make money. Yeah, that's it. I mean, but it's tough because I bought a house very far from any casino, so I haven't set myself up well for it. So I'm just in this crazy.
Are you here in Vegas?
No, everybody thinks I live in Vegas for some reason. I live in New York, and I live 4 or 5 hours from a casino, so I'll just get in my car, drive to a casino, play for, I was on a really unhealthy schedule where I would just play for like 24 hours, go to sleep, play for another 24 hours.
I imagine, if you're driving somewhere and you're leaving your family behind,
yeah,
you want to just get all the hours in.
I want to get as many hours as I can, and live poker is kind of this, it's very hard to get a lot of volume in, so I kind of always have pushed it to the max, but yeah, I'm just really that's other than adapting to the poker landscape, just being a grinder has by far been my biggest sort of asset in terms of, being able to make a living playing poker.
How has poker changed? Obviously you've been grinding for 20 years. You say it. You're still grinding. You've seen this evolution. Obviously you've had to adapt and adjust. Probably the best part of what you are. How have you seen the game change?
I mean, it's changed so much. It's still changing, but I think the biggest change has just been sort of the advancements in like technology and AI that make it so much easier to study and learn the game quickly and become very good. And I think the biggest shift has been that poker, I think, used to be in a lot of ways a game more for extroverts. That's what you see with the old generation, like Karan, Sammy Farha, these guys.
You want to be invited to those games. You got to be social. You got to talk to the businessmen. Yeah.
And you're playing with other people at the table. That's a big part of the game. Speech play used to be a big part of the game. I feel like now, it's much more catered to introverts because it takes a certain personality to be able to sit there on a computer and just run simulations for hours on end, which is really one of the best ways you can improve. So I really think just in terms of the poker ecosystem, it's gone from sort of much more in terms of the better players, extroverts to introverts.
Right. That makes sense. I mean, hey, listen, everybody's got to make some money. World Series of Poker, obviously, you don't play a lot of poker tournaments, but if I were to grant you the power that you are a poker commissioner, you have unilateral control over not only poker, but the World Series of Poker, what changes would you make?
So to be honest with you, I think the World Series is pretty close to perfect. I see people complaining every year, about little things like it's always one thing or another.
Honestly, my mom's from New York, dude. I'm sure you can relate being in New York. We could be on the beach in Hawaii, and my mom's complaining.
Yeah,
just my mom's complaining about like the sand.
Yeah.
And look, Mom, we're on the fucking beach in Hawaii. What are you complaining about?
You're on the beach. The World Series is just it's 1.5 months in the summer. It's like no other time in the world. It's the mecca of poker. If the dealers are bad, whatever. You know what I mean? If you got to wait in the line, whatever. I think it's generally perfect for the most part. In terms of poker overall, and part of the reason I think the World Series is amazing is that generally at the World Series, people are just happy to be here. They're in a good energy. They play fast, which to me is the biggest, now that poker is streaming, I think the biggest sort of detriment to the growth of poker is just people playing too slowly and making the streams less entertaining. And
I will say, shout out, by the way, I feel like it's getting better. There was like a real lull where everybody was slowing down. Like, I don't know what was going on. Everybody was like, I need to take 30 seconds before I decide what to do with Jack 5 offsuit.
I think humans are very social creatures. And if you see 7 players at your table playing slowly, makes you play slower. You know what I mean? And whereas if now there are 6 or 7 players playing fast, you feel like uncomfortable playing slowly. I think for the bigger tournament series like Triton, I think 2 things. One is just using technology with clocks to make sure that the players are acting fast as much as possible. Like, I get it, there are big decisions, but I just think for the entertainment purpose, the faster the better.
Right.
And then I think personally, if there was a way to incentivize players to be more entertaining at the table, that would honestly be fucking great for the game. Like I'm not. I don't.
Are you suggesting like no phones? So they have to be more social?
No, not so much no phones, but like I don't know how you would do it without sort of diluting the rules of.
Like you said, already have to take a course at like an improv course before they play poker?
Maybe like you have to say, like, if you're on a feature table, you have to say 50 words or you get like disqualified from the tournament or something. Just so we get these guys talking a little, coming out of their shells. I don't know, but overall, I think the World Series is amazing, and I think all the big companies are doing a great job. Triton, WPT.
Gosh, where's the tough conversation guy? You're just like such a politician now.
I'm soft now.
Everybody does a great job. You're all wonderful. Let's just have fun.
Yeah, man. This is me now doing the 888 ride with fucking Tuckman for some clout.
And you get no clout out of this.
I'll get a little.
A little bit of clout?
Maybe. Probably not.
Hey, are you gonna play any events this summer, or what's up?
Well, apparently me and you got in on this promo because we did this final table.
Ba-boom!
So me and Tuckman did a final table yesterday where the guy won a free roll on Club WPT, and because he won the free roll, certain events at the World Series, if he won them, he would get $1 million.
So now you just have to play.
So there are like 5 or 6 events where if Tuckman or I win, we get an extra $1 million from Club WPT. So I will be playing as many of those events as possible,
Yeah.
even though I can't win.
Listen, anybody can win.
It's true. Anybody except you.
Probably. In all likelihood, probably. Hey, man, thank you so much for joining us. This is
My pleasure.